aware, but today is our Chairman Jerry Simpson's birthday. And tomorrow is Vice Chairman Dennis Rake's birthday. So now the clerk has purchased y'all some really nice hats that y'all must put on.
We'll let the clerk wear it.
We're fixing to sing happy birthday to y'all. All right, so y'all join me in singing happy birthday to you. Put the hats on. Put the hats on.
Do you know how big my head is?
All right, that will be on social media. Let's sing happy birthday to him. Happy
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jerry and Dennis. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Feels like a long 67, I'll tell you. And with that, we'll call our meeting to order. And as our custom, we will begin with an invocation led by Dennis Rake.
I always feel a great privilege and responsibility when it's my turn to do the invocation, because I hear so many other people return thanks, and I think, man, that's a beautiful prayer. And so I really spent a lot of time, and finally something, I found it, and it just popped up. And I'm going to read you the 2 Corinthians 7:14, because I know a lot of us, especially us 67 and above, we're concerned about where our country is right now. And that passage says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And we certainly need our land healed. So if you choose to, bow your heads and I'll say our prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, I come to you tonight, a sinner saved by grace. I humbly ask you to protect and heal our land. My prayer tonight is to ask you, dear God, to give us the strength for all people to turn away from all of the wickedness that's so present in the world. I know by your own promise that if we call on you, you will hear us in heaven. Forgive us of all our sins and claim in your words to heal this land. Empower us as leaders and citizens to live a Christian and God-fearing lifestyle, and let everyone see in how we live that we are following your words to make this world that is God-loving and God-fearing. Please protect our country, our county, and all the people in this United States, all the way down to Union County this next week. Place your hands on this great nation and leave no doubt that you are on the throne and in full control of our world. Amen. Amen. If you would stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give us just a minute, we'll check and see if we had anyone sign up for our public hearings. But our first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing, item number 3, KW Collards Project Green.
Chairman Simpson, Commissioners, Manager Watson, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight an Economic Development Incentive Grant request from KW Collards, otherwise referred to as Project Green. KW Collards, founded in 2009, is a processor and marketer of high-quality collard greens that are sold in stores such as Whole Foods, Harris Teeter, Lowe's Foods, and Ingles. What makes KW Collards unique is that they are 100% vegetarian and vegan, and they are sold in glass jars to ensure flavor retention and long shelf life. There is no meat whatsoever in this product. The company has been processing its product from leased commercial kitchens in Mecklenburg and Ardell County. And KW Collards began discussions with our office in September about their desire to identify a permanent location in Union County where they can vertically integrate their supply chain as a way to stabilize production costs. The company is considering a $3.2 million investment that would include the construction of a 25,000 square foot processing building with a large-scale commercial kitchen and the construction of greenhouses and hydroponic systems to grow the tomatoes and green peppers required for the end product. The company also plans to purchase collard greens from as many Union County farmers as possible. Once a final location is selected, construction and equipment installation is anticipated to begin in 2021. The project is required to create a minimum of 10 full-time jobs, but it is anticipated that the project would create up to 38 full-time jobs. The company has indicated that incentives are a very important factor for the project. Therefore, tonight, we are requesting your consideration of a Step 1 Economic Development Incentive Grant in an amount not to exceed $60,800 to be paid over 5 years, beginning in fiscal year 2022, based upon the Union County Tax Office's appraised value each year on the company's anticipated investment of $3.2 million. Based on this investment and holding all other factors constant, including depreciation, the company would pay estimated ad valorem taxes on the new taxable investment of $116,944 over the grant period. Of course, actual tax revenue to Union County will be based on the current tax rate applied to the assessed value of the investment each year after depreciation. As we do with all of our projects, we conducted a cost-benefit analysis. And this project shows a 2.39 to 1 return over the first 5 years of the project or the grant period. And that increases to 3.27 to 1 over the life of the project. Therefore, the Monroe Union County Economic Development staff recommends the award of this Step 1 performance-based incentive grant to KW Collards in an amount not to exceed $60,800 in order to help secure this $3.2 million investment. At this time, it's my pleasure to recognize Mr. Kazito Wademi, and, who is president of KW Collards, and his lovely wife, Patricia, who is Chief Operating Officer. Both Kazito and Patricia are available for any questions should you have them. With that, thank you.
I have one question,
Yes, sir.
and you don't have to be too specific, but what kind of acreage are we talking about for this operation in terms of collards?
Kazito.
Currently 120 acres. That would serve to produce maybe 20 or 30% of what we need. The rest is to be purchased from local farmers.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ron. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. We have no one signed up to speak, so I'll close the public hearing. Takes us to item number 4, CZ 2020-006, Piper Meadows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the public hearing for CZ 2020-006 Piper Meadows. This is a project that will amend, if approved, amend the zoning map of Union County by rezoning a parcel of land from RA 40 to R6 conditional. The applicant has requested this rezoning in order to develop the subdivision you see right now on the screen. This one will be 80 single-family residential homes, and there will be one point of access onto Newtown Road. We have several suggested conditions for the project. Number one, that it be consistent with the approved, or with the conceptual plan, that the applicant dedicate 30 feet of right-of-way for Newtown Road as measured from the center line to NCDOT for maintenance purposes, that stormwater equal to the cluster option, which is the 2 and 25-year storm events, be included as part of this request, to install a sidewalk along the frontage of the development along Newtown Road, and construct a left-hand turn lane into the site from Newtown Road, and that would be subject to NCDOT approval. Following pictures are just some of the general area. The top left is Newtown Road looking toward the intersection with Potter, and then the top right is looking down Newtown Road back toward Monroe. And then the bottom left is looking from Newtown Road into the property, so that's the site itself. And then the bottom right is looking across the street. This area is bordered by Wesley Chapel just to the north. This is a satellite annexation, so this area of Wesley Chapel is not contiguous to the rest of the town of Wesley Chapel. They've annexed a few parcels in this neighborhood. So if you were to zoom out just a little bit on this map, you would see that the town would generally be more to the north and to the west. The development in the area is kind of mixed. You've got a few subdivisions that are built out. You've got Majestic Forest, and you've got Winding Creek to the north. And then you've got some other properties that are large that have maybe some single-family homes built on them. And then you've got a lot of just undeveloped pieces of property in the area. The properties in the area are served by a mix of well and septic and Union County water and sewer. This project is proposed to be served by Union County water and sewer. Water is located at the intersection of Newtown and Potter. They'll have to extend the water line in order to serve this development. And sewer is available in the Winding Creek neighborhood, and sewer will have to be extended in order to serve this neighborhood from there as well. And all those improvements would be done at the developer's expense. This property sits right off Newtown Road. It is kind of a high point along Newtown and drops off as you go north. And you can see a fairly large floodplain that runs through the Winding Creek community. That's where the property generally tends to fall. On the property itself, though, there are no major environmental features. Zoning on the property is R40, or it's actually RA40, so it's 1 unit per acre right now. It has been zoned RA40 since the county established zoning. There was a previous rezoning request related to this property, CZ 2019-007, which was submitted back on May 6th of 2019. It would have allowed up to 95 single-family homes, and that request was denied by the board on August 19th, 2019. The schools that would serve this project are Parkwood Middle and High School and Western Union. The numbers that we received from Union County Public Schools were that Western Union was at 60% of rated capacity, Parkwood Middle was 83, and Parkwood High was 76. And the schools say that they don't currently anticipate that this development will present an adverse impact on school enrollments. So a couple of traffic counts located in the general area. One on Newtown Road just to the west of Potter. That was about 4,500 vehicle trips per day. And then one on Potter Road north of the intersection, about 3,600 vehicle trips per day. Those are the only recent traffic counts available from NCDOT. The CARPO projects both Potter and Newtown to be future two-lane sections, which is what they currently are now, but with a paved shoulder. So they'll, in the future, at some point, there will be a wider shoulder. None of those projects are funded, so I don't have any timeline or horizon on when those improvements might occur. The current land use plan does have this area shown as mixed residential, which does generally anticipate higher densities in the area. And you can see it's right on the edge, so portions of the property are out, but the vast majority is in the mixed residential. I do note that in the recommended plan, normally I don't do this at rezonings, but there is a new recommended land use plan that vastly reduces the mixed residential area. So this area would not be in the recommended plan. Of course, that plan's not been adopted yet. The current plan that's adopted does show this as mixed residential, higher density. And the planning board voted 4-2 to recommend approval of the request. The planning board noted that it was a quality project and was consistent with the comprehensive plans. The dissenting members noted concerns regarding density, traffic, and flooding and stormwater issues. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Mr.
That particular community has got right around the corner, a huge development underway right now, 600 homes. When you go to the map and point out, it's actually probably through the woods between 1/4 and a half mile away.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're talking about Crestwind.
Yes.
It would be, this is the southernmost parcel of Crestwind's that I'm kind of circling over right here. Yes, sir, that's correct.
And also help me understand a little bit, I think it said the houses were going to be 8 foot off the property line. Is that what I read?
I believe that is the minimum setback in that zoning district. Yes, that's the minimum setback in that zoning district. That would be up to the developer if they wanted to go higher than that. So that is something you could talk to the developer about. But the minimum setback in that R6 is 8 feet off the side property lines.
What is the proposed building height of the structures?
Don't believe the developer provided us a proposed building height. They do have some elevations that they've provided that I believe is going to be part of their presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Commissioner Rushing, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. This has 15 less homes than the prior project had, correct?
Yes, sir.
What is the zoning the same, or is there a difference in the zoning?
I would have to go back and double check that. I believe the previous rezoning request was R4.
And this is
But
R6?
and this is R6, but I'll double check that for you.
Okay. And but the planning board, do you remember what the planning board was to vote on that one?
I believe they recommended approval on that one as well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lee. Did the developer have a presentation?
Yes, sir. The developer is here.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John Ross with Eagle Engineering. Here this evening, also with me is Mr. Mike McGee, representing McGee Properties of the Carolinas. We are the designers and engineers for the Piper Meadows project. And thank you for allowing us the time, affording us the opportunity to present this evening. And Lee, we always appreciate your presentation and your thoroughness as well. Lee has outlined, I'm not going to duplicate or replicate a lot of the information he presented. 33 acres, currently 2 residences, a bit of agricultural use and wooded areas on the current site. What is important, I think, is that we do understand that the current plan, the future land use that is in place today, does show this area being as part of the mixed residential. And that use as defined by the comp plan identifies this as being mixed residential that would include single-family, patio homes, cottage homes, townhomes, and multifamily uses, with a recommended range of 2 to 4 units per acre. What we are proposing with our site plan is 2.44 units per acre, which is greater certainly than 1, but that is not a very dense subdivision project. Yes, 8-foot side yard setbacks, so we're proposing all brick homes, and Mr. McGee will expand on that in just a moment, but all brick homes that would then in fact be 16 feet out to out as a minimum on those structures. What you see here, again, is a rendered site plan. To the north, which is kind of up and to the right, the 2 blue areas, those are the BMPs, best management practice, stormwater ponds that will be provided. They will be, of course, designed in accordance with the county and the state regulations to provide water quality and stormwater management such that there is no increase of stormwater runoff from this site under the design storms. The R6 does allow for a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. I'd like to point out that our average size is really just under 10,000 square feet. 9,700 and change is the average size for our residential lots. Mr. McGee, if you'd like to come up and speak just a moment, and I'll certainly step aside and be glad to answer any technical questions as need be.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, rest of the board. I'd just like to go over a little bit of what our plans are to build. John showed you pretty much what the subdivision is going to be like. But the homes, the pictures that you're looking at is a subdivision that we've just finished up here in Union County that we built over close to Indian Trail. So this is just kind of a sample of what type homes we will be building. John, you want to?
Down
All right. This is just one of the homes. Most of the homes that we build, practically, I'd say 95% of the homes that we build, really more than that, are single-story residences. These houses will be probably somewhere in the 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. We do have a few plans that'll have a bonus room upstairs, and there is a few that has a couple of bedrooms up there. We may have one full 2-story house, and that's normally used just when there's nothing else will fit on the lot. We don't do very many 2-story houses at all, and if we do, the maximum height of that would, the walls would be probably 25 feet or so to the top of the roof, or maybe a little more. But, you'd have 2 stories there, and then plus the roof. So we're not looking at, tall houses. Most of the homes that we sell are sold to older people. No, I'm about the age of some of you fellas. You're 67 today, I believe, but I got you a couple on that. But most of the homes that we sell are actually people that are moving down. They want a nice community. They want to live in a nice community, a nice home. All of our houses, as John mentioned earlier, they will be all brick, and we try to just build a nice community. This is another one of the homes there, just several different elevations of different style homes that you can see. That's what we've been doing. And again, this is just a footprint of the subdivision, and we do have a good bit of open area on that. And we try to, one of the reasons we try to keep the lots as small as we can. And the reason doing that is so that these homes can be affordable to people, the average people that live in Union County. These homes will be probably somewhere, it all depends on what our costs for the subdivision ends up, but you're going to be looking at somewhere in the low 3s to maybe 375, 400,000. But we'll still try to have it where people that work here in Union County, your teachers, your firemen, and your policemen, whoever can afford these type homes. But we've been here in the county all of my life. I've worked here, been in business here, and what we want to do is try to build something that the community would be proud of, and that it would be something that would not tear down anything in the community, but it would make the value of the properties go up around there. So, is there any questions?
See none, so thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one point of clarification. The open space that was mentioned, it's right at 13 acres, just under 13 acres. So it's literally 42% of the site will be maintained as open space in the development. So, thank you. If there are future questions, I'd be glad to step back up.
This time I'll open the public hearing. We have one individual signed up to speak, Bob White. Is you?
Actually, my question is for the developer.
Okay.
I boarded the property.
You can take your mask down if you
Okay.
like, and we hear you a little better. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I boarded that property right there. I guess, I live in Winding Creek. And my question is, right now, there's a barbed wire fence that separates the old property from my property. How far in is he going to cut back the trees there? That's what I really want to know.
I think we can show that there's a buffer somewhat there, but
I see your survey markers. They're pretty close. Are they going to get any bigger?
it won't ever get any bigger than where the survey markers are.
So where that's,
That's
where
where
those,
the property line is, so it can't go any further closer to you than what those are.
okay.
We'll clarify that with y'all.
Okay.
So,
The 20-foot minimum for the sewer.
That's me right there.
Here's your rear property line.
Yep.
The rear setback. So you've got a common area of about 30 feet, and then we're about 20 feet on our side.
Okay, so when is the first lot, where is their backyard?
Their property,
this is their property line, so
property would be from this corner, which is 20 feet off of the common property area.
plus
Okay.
So 50 feet from your back line is their back line.
You know, they're a little bit elevated, they're gonna be looking right down in my backyard.
They're 50 feet away from your back property line is their back property
They're
line.
gonna be looking right into it.
Mr. White, would you mind addressing your concerns at the microphone? so
Okay,
we
I'm
can-
sorry, I'm
everybody
sorry.
can hear?
So, my concern is that, right now, it's really, really close to my line. That last project that was rejected in 2019, the developer said he was going to keep the tree line and give me more of a buffer. Well, he got rejected, and now these guys are in, okay? And the way it sounds like to me is this new property is going to be looking right into my yard. I mean, it's very sparse there with trees. So they're going to be looking right into it. Maybe that doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but it means a lot to me. So the only thing I can ask respectfully is that maybe could they put a line of, what do you call them there? Trees, cryptomeria or Leland cypress. That wouldn't be too bad, because they'd grow up and they'd offer a little bit of a border. Is that unreasonable? That's my comment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We have no one else to speak? Oh, excuse me.
Can I speak?
If you'll come up and give us your name, sure.
Absolutely. My name is Frank Capella. I live in Monroe, 3901 Voltaire Drive, 917-922-8783. Does this board realize that if you approve this Piper Meadows project, the upcoming Park Place development, along with the already approved Crestwind, this board would effectively alter the entire eastern border of Wesley Chapel with nearly 3,000 high-density homes, all within a close proximity. Our area wants growth that is responsible and is consistent with the land use plan, not unsafe growth, nonsensical growth, like putting monster high-density developments more suited for the bypass and placing them on dangerous, flooded-out, two-lane country roads. This Piper Meadow project speaks to a much larger point, which is this county isn't just in the land development approval business anymore. You are in the life and death business. These high-density projects are now a full-blown safety issue for our area, and Piper Meadow is no exception. Trust me when I say this, none of you would put up with some of the dangers you have thrusted upon our community. None of you would want your kids, grandkids, or spouses to drive through routinely through our area. What does it say when your own mail carrier, who now fears for her life in driving around our area, pleads with you to call the postmaster and alert them? What does it say when people routinely ask, which commissioners allowed this to happen? Or doesn't the county know somebody's going to get killed in our area? These are the type of comments that come from our community when this board votes for high-density projects. When are you guys going to realize that long-term damage these high-density developments have on the lives and safety of our constituents, of your constituents? Further, there's going to be a massive bill on the horizon as it pertains to high-density developments. Think of this. NCDOT is absolutely broke. Water and sewer rates are going to hit 30% in a few months. A reval is coming, so watch your taxes. All while Eastern Union County has fallen woefully behind on technology and much needed school upgrades. In the meantime, stop these high-density projects that our community as a whole does not support. Thank you.
Mr. Capella, could I clarify your phone?
917-922-8783.
Thank you very much.
You are.
That ends our speakers. We'll close the public hearing. Lee, did you have some other comments you want to make?
I just wanted to confirm the answers to Mr. Rushing's questions, that the previous request was R4, and the planning board did recommend approval.
Okay. Thank you. All righty, we're to item number 5, proposed schedule of value, standards, and rules to be used in the 2021 Union County reappraisal.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Van Harrell, our tax administrator, will come and address this item with the board.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners. Tonight's public hearing is in regards to the proposed schedule of value, standards, and rules to be used for the 2021 reappraisal. If you recall, back at the October 19th meeting, we delivered that schedule to you. Subsequent to the meeting, we made that schedule available for inspection in our office as well as online, which has gotten some traffic. There's been several downloads. Catherine confirmed with us last week that people are viewing that. Again, this is for the 2020 reappraisal cycle. The schedule of values has been developed based on activity in the local real estate market that has occurred since the 2015 reappraisal. It is not a projection of where we think the market will go, but a retrospective look based on statute that will capture the current values in the market and bring our tax values up to market standard, which is where we should be by law. This is a mandatory advancement of the appraisal cycle. We were notified by the Department of Revenue in 2018 that the sales assessment ratio, which is a comparison of our tax values to the current market values, was below the 85% threshold required and mandated by the population of Union County. As we all know, we have a very active real estate market, and our current sales ratio is 73% as of August. In retrospect with that, we can look at a countywide overall tax base increase of 23 to 27% based on this reappraisal project. depending on any number of factors. It doesn't mean an individual property is going to go up 23 to 27%. Some may go up less, some may go up more. Some may see a decline. It's not likely in this cycle, but that's always a possibility. We have worked with the communications team, as I mentioned, to launch a communications program related to this. The first piece of that was the county website, where we have made some information available. We will be adding additional tools to that as well to facilitate taxpayer appeals, answering taxpayer questions, and provide them general information related to the project. We fully anticipate questions from the public, and we'll be ready to answer those questions. The next step in this process would be to adopt the schedule formally at the November, I believe, 16th meeting in 2 weeks. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Mr. Helms?
Yes, sir. Some of the papers are quoting you that the tax rate is going up 25%, but I think I understand you say the appraisal values may go up 25%.
That's correct. We only deal with the value.
Well, and the point I'm making is it doesn't mean your tax is going to go up 25%, because I think Commissioner Rushing mentioned last time, a lot of us want to keep a revenue neutral, which affects your tax bill, but your 25% is actually what the appraised value of the property.
That would be the assessed and appraised value, yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify that, because I'm getting, my emails getting filled up thinking we're getting a 25% tax increase.
Okay.
And that's not the case.
We have not fielded any of those questions in the office. We've had very little contact with this other than website traffic. So, but you are correct. The increase would be on the value, not the tax rate. The tax rate is set as part of the budget process. So.
Well, I appreciate it. I've met a lot of our citizens in the last 2.5 weeks at the polls, and that's a concern that they're expressing. So I just wanted to clarify.
Commissioner Akins?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo what Commissioner Helms was saying. I would suggest perhaps we get with our communications department and get the message out there to clarify, because our emails are filling up with folks having concerns. In fact, I think you just heard the last gentleman make a reference. So maybe perhaps we need to spend a little time and effort in clarifying this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay. Thank you.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. We have no one to sign up to speak, so I'll close the public hearing. And that takes us to our informal comments. Did not have a sheet, so we had no informal comments. No one signed up to speak. So that'll take us to additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would like for us to pull number 15 off and add it to old business, short line water extension program.
Okay, make that item 17A. We have a motion, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next item is consent.
Motion to approve consent as amended.
Motion to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us to old business. Mr. Wright.
Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Brian Matthews with us that will be talking to you about this item, the Short Line Extension Program Ordinance Update, and answering any questions that you may have about the requested update revision to the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Chairman and Board, what you have tonight is a request to amend an ordinance for the Short Line Extension Program. If you will recall, back in 2012, the county created a Short Line Extension Program. It was funded about $600,000 annually. Because of the low amount of funding, that seems like a lot of money, but it really isn't when you're doing water and sewer projects. It created a backlog. We had a significant number of requests and not enough funding to do it. Back in 2019, the board changed your allocation policy. You decided to put $5 million into this current budget, $5 million into 2020's budget, and then possibly an additional $5 million to finish out the backlog in programs. It was estimated at the time we would need about $15 million to finish the backlog. After going through and reevaluating the backlog projects, we've determined that we believe that it will take approximately 2 years to finish the backlog at around $10 million. We're currently working on the first phase or first year of the program. Should have that second year backlog finished. After that, the board put in place standards and procedures for a new program. It's still a short line extension program, but it has some new characteristics to it. You actually change the ordinance as far as the effective date. That effective date is for January of 2022. Now, the way the program will work is we will take applications 6 months in advance, then we'll go through, evaluate those applications, bring that to the board. The board will then decide how much money to fund annually for that. You may choose to fund all the projects that are requested. You may cut it off based on some other weighted criteria, but the application starts 6 months before the actual program begins. So this ordinance amendment will allow us to formally start the program January 1, 2022, and officially start accepting applications July 1 of 2021. We've actually moved that date up a little bit because we realized that we were able to finish the backlog faster than we originally thought we would. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Helms?
Yes, sir. When we reevaluate that process back, we put a formula in place that would address the health and safety needs of the applicants and the actual requirement for water. Will that still be applicable with the new process?
Absolutely, and I apologize for not talking more about that. The board actually felt like as part of the new program, you wanted to have a higher weight for health issues, whether it be manganese, arsenic, actually no water, that is still a health issue. And so those were heavily weighted in the application process. And annually, the board will then evaluate if you want new criteria or even change to that criteria.
This program, like I said, it's been in effect since 2012, has been an intention to address the needs of those in our county that have not had water. And it's something the board, I think, intentionally has worked to ensure that all citizens that we can provide water to, that we're doing that. So I appreciate y'all's work. I know I've got constituents calling me saying how happy they are that they now have water. Sure. One of being which had no water. So appreciate what y'all have done and the effectiveness that you have demonstrated this first year.
Thank you. I do want to say we had a question earlier last week. It was about prioritizing this type of access to water. And our response was, this is absolutely a priority. For the first time, the board has put millions of dollars into a program that did not have millions of dollars into it. So we take this as a priority, and we take that very seriously.
Commissioner Rushing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we have a water line extension, I had a call from a gentleman the other day in the Fairview community, New Salem, Fairview area, and he they're completing partial section of the road that he was concerned with, but not going all the way. When we do one of these and there's a partial connection through a road, are we a little bit more proactive with it now, where we would look at extending it and completing a loop?
So the new program that we'll have in place is, number one, requires an application. And as part of the application, we try to get as many of the property owners interested in the program. So we've actually hired an individual who's going to manage this. He's going to talk to the neighbors in the area, try to get interest in the program, because obviously we want customers. We will also look at the hydraulics and whether or not a loop makes sense. Understand, though, the program is not a 100% free program as it's designed. There is some skin in the game that property owners will have to have. So it's all going to depend on how much are they willing to come up with and how much the county's going to put into it. But hydraulics are something we look at when we do these new programs.
So there would be an opportunity. I think the way he was explaining is that one side of the road was maybe $7,000 per household. Another part of the road was less or more, could have been less or more. So, looking at the project as a whole, rather than maybe cutting it off halfway, we are doing that. We've got an individual hired to do that.
In the future, I can't say for this current individual, probably not, because it's probably that's already determined.
Okay.
But in the future, for new applications, we will look at the entire system and make a decision on where's the best place to stop. Because obviously, we can't just keep going. So where can we stop? Where do we have enough applicants? And then how much does that cost, and where do we go from there? But yes, sir, we will have the ability to look at it as a system and not just individual applications.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one of the other things that we've done since we put this program in place to address this backlog is we have hired an engineer whose sole responsibility is this short line extension, but also, Commissioner Rushing, to address the issue that you just talked about. So I see short line extensions really in two phases. The first is, the traditional program that we've had where the citizens, the residents come and they ask to be part of this program, get on the list and have a line extended to their residents. The other part will start coming to you in your annual CIP discussion, short line extensions of the system that our engineers feel like will be beneficial for the hydraulics, closing the loops, extending water lines into areas of the county to serve the current residents in unserved areas of the county. And that is going to be part of our discussion in the January timeframe when we come with the CIP discussion. And Hung Yee and his staff have already put a lot of work into that, I don't even know what we call it at
We
this
call
point.
it transmission
Transmission
extensions.
short water transmission line program, but they have been developing a plan for you to look at in January related to that. So it's not just, there are immediate needs that individual residents have, and that's what this program, addresses. But then it's the other side of the coin, if you will. How do we get those water lines out into the community to serve areas that are unserved right now? So. One more question following up with that. And Mr. McGee is still here, and he'll appreciate this, I think. Just like, for example, he can extend water lines, and developers extend their water lines to their developments. A lot of people ask, why are we paying for developers to get a water line to their neighborhood? And we're not. They put those in the ground, they run those lines to get them into their neighborhoods, and then they turn over that infrastructure to the county. Is there anything do we have anything that prohibits a group of individuals in the past where they would come together as neighbors, put in a line on their road? So for example, let's say Mr. McGee, who's well qualified to put in infrastructure, if they put a line down Carricker Road, could they access that? Do we have any policies that would prohibit a developer or a group of individuals with the skill set to put in a line down their road?
So as far as allowing individual property owners to act as a developer, absolutely not. Now, understand, they have to design it according to our standards, they have to have it installed according to our standards, but we absolutely do not prohibit property owners from acting as developers and extending water lines.
Okay.
Now, we're going to have something to say about it. We want to make sure the size is appropriate. We're going to make sure the design is appropriate, but we're happy if they want to put those lines in.
Right. And many years ago, that was done with some success in the county, and probably could be another way of extending lines to people quicker.
Sure.
And Mike, you know how to do it, right? He's shaking his head, smiling, so I'm taking that as a yes.
Okay.
So what you're talking about, Commissioner Rushing, is really us putting in that distribution backbone that'll feed that water out into the areas of the county, and then the other part of that is, how
how do current residents get hooked up to that distribution line?
Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Brian, for this presentation. When we did the agenda, Chairman Simpson and I, we talked about it, and I think what I learned when we expanded our program, and I've heard between 10 and 12 million, but we caught all the ones that we could. A lot of people had not signed up, so that's why it's very important to let people know that starting July 1, we're going to start taking applications again.
Yes, sir.
And I might point out, about a month ago, you remember we approved engineering for the line that feeds the south line to go over to Wingate. So, you know, contrary to what you hear sometimes on social media, this board and this staff has been working their behinds off we've caught up with the backlog, the ones that were feasible to go to, and we're laying a groundwork for the future. And hopefully we get so many applications that we can say, you know, we're getting 50 per mile. I mean,
Yes,
I know you say the more per mile, the easier it is to do. And so you can promise, and what I have learned, you can promise something, but it takes a while to bring it to fruition. But it is coming to fruition, contrary to what some people may think, that we're not honoring our promises. We have made major strides in doing this.
Yes, sir.
And I commend Public Works staff, Hungy, and all his underlings and you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Helms?
Brian, can you explain, you know, when you run past, in this short line, when you run past individual houses, it's very affordable for them to hook on. And existing houses, there's a rate for that. Can you explain that? And
Yeah.
then if you're gonna build a new one, like a new development,
Yes,
there's
sir.
a difference.
So if you have an existing home and you're on a well, and you weren't part of the application process, but the water line runs by your home, you can still pay a tap fee and tap into our system. Now, I don't have the exact number. It's between $400 and $500, I believe, for a tap fee. And that's very reasonable. Now, understand you still have a monthly bill for water, how much you use for the rest of the time, but you're not required to tap in under the current program. If you have a well, then you can stay on your well. If you want to tap into county water, you can. Now, if you have vacant property, it's a little different. That's considered undeveloped. We do have a system development fee that you have to pay, and then you also pay your tap fees. I don't have that number in front of me, but it is more expensive because you have undeveloped property.
Well, that's the point I wanted to make out. Existing house with a well is affordability.
Yes,
I can
sir.
tell you can't replace a pump for $400 to $500.
Yes, sir, I would agree.
So,
Mr. Rushing?
Yeah, and, you know, you're not required to pay the system development fee on an existing home.
That is correct, yes, sir.
But there is a fee. The fee of the $7,000, like I just said, would be the cost of running those lines on those extension programs to the homeowners, but it is not the system development fee.
That is not, that is a
It's
completely separate fee.
It's a cost like the developer would incur running the lines. The
Yes, sir.
developer, when they run a line to a project like we saw earlier,
They
they
build
also
it in the cost of
pay,
the lot, is what they do.
they pay the pipe, they pay the labor, they pay the system development fee on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Which could go into the thousands of dollars with, especially with sewer. Sewer and water is, you know, you could be looking at, you know, $10,000 or more, possibly per home, maybe depending on the cost of running the lines and extending those.
Yes, sir.
So that's not paid by the existing homeowner, only the cost maybe of running a line to that house.
Yes, sir.
But not tapping on, that's not just the tap fees, $400 or $500.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the application period got mentioned, and under the old program, the applications opened up for one day.
One day.
One day, and people stood in line, and first come, first serve, and then it closed down for the rest of the year. And what will happen on July 1, that will be open for 6 months?
So 6 months is actually a little too aggressive because we
Okay.
actually have to bring
That's the
the
reason I wanted to
projects
bring it
back
up.
to the board so that the board can then decide how much you're going to fund, several months. So I'm not going to tell you it's going to be 3 months or 4 months. It's really going to depend on how much interest we have. We've got that one individual, he's going to meet with those property owners, explain it, kind of help them through the application process. So it'll be several months that'll be open. It may be 3, it could be 4, but it's got to give us enough time to then take the projects, evaluate them, put all that together, bring it to the board, so you can then decide, well, what are we going to fund, what are we not going to fund?
That was the point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Takes us to item 18 under new business, Step 1 Economic Development Incentive Grant.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion, we consider Step 1 Economic Development Incentive Grant in amount not to exceed $60,800 to KW College Project Green to be paid over a 5-year period, beginning in FY 2022. Authorize county manager to approve an agreement with KW Collards.
We have a motion, any discussion? Commissioner Rushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank you for looking at Union County to do an investment in this. You would not believe the excitement in the room with all these country guys up there, and you talking about collards. So I think everybody was excited about you coming here, and especially Commissioner Simpson and myself with and our links in agriculture. This might be a great opportunity for our local farmers, especially small farmers, to sell product to you, and I'm excited about it, and can't wait to get a jar and make some collard sandwiches. Thank you.
I would just concur with Commissioner Rushing. Union County is extremely proud of our agriculture here, and what a lot of people don't realize is the extent of diversity that we have in our agriculture, and this project will only add to that. So we thank you for your consideration of Union County. Any further discussion? Commissioner Wright.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to go back though and vote on that last item.
We need to adopt that ordinance to move it from January to.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. In the interest of current discussion, can we take care of this motion with regard to the collards? Is that okay? We hadn't voted. Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Now, the chairman made a mistake, and we had the previous item under no old business we need to take care of. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance. I need it to read. Adopt the ordinance amending the Union County Water and Sewer Extension Ordinance in Division 6 of Article 4 of Chapter 34 of the Union County Code.
Okay, we have a motion, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. My apologies. I thought it was for information only. Should have read my agenda. All right, that takes us to county manager's comments.
I have no comments this evening.
Commissioner Akins, we'll start with you.
I just want to remind everybody, tomorrow is Election Day. Go out and cast your vote. It's your God-given right. A lot of folks fought and died for you to have that right, so please be sure to go exercise that. With that, I wish everyone a good evening.
Mr. Rushing.
I would like to echo what Commissioner Akins just said, and in the business that I'm in, we talk to a lot of people who have a lot of fear, and it's on all sides, and people are worried about what's going to happen the day after. We've been doing this for a long time, and we should all conduct ourselves as adults. And when I see towns boarding up windows and boarding up stores, and it hurts my heart. And I just hope that after this is all over with, no matter what side you are on it, that we come together and remember that we're trying to build a great country, not necessarily for ourselves. It was built for us. We have to maintain it for our children and our grandchildren. So with that, wish everyone a good night, and please go vote.
Mr. Ray.
I think it may have come, you heard the chairman say he made a mistake, and that'll probably be the only one I'll ever get to hear. He did eat a piece of birthday cake before we came in here, and I've never seen him eat any.
Impacted my judgment there.
It impacted your judgment. So I understand why he doesn't eat now, but Jerry always says don't say it, but we've known each other a long time. And I told him this evening before the meeting started, ain't this fun? And he says, oh yeah, but Jerry's got 4 oh yes. It can mean everything from heck no to maybe to, so, but that's all I'll say.
Well, that leaves me with no comments, so we'll leave the last word to Commissioner Hale.
Well, I appreciate it, and again, I want to wish Jerry and Dennis both a happy birthday. I still say they're pups, they're only 67. But I will point out, a conversation with the manager earlier today, we've had almost 112,000 people vote, which is phenomenal. Last election, only 103 voted all total. But what I wanted to point out is that 50,000 people in the county, over 50,000, still haven't voted. So I encourage you to vote. The process is very efficient, and hopefully I'll see you out there tomorrow, Tuesday, in the lines voting. With that, thank you.
Offer a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.